So, welcome to Big Questions. We're going to talk a little about some of the things that take place around the game, some of the important things about how it's paid for, how we make some of the decisions about bots and things. We've collected some questions from the forums, and we're going to have some time at the end for live questions from you guys. So if you've got questions and you can see someone with a microphone, try and get their eye, see if you can get them to bring the microphone to you. And we'll look at how many questions we get through on here and see what else we want. So, slides aren't going anywhere? Never mind. So you've had introductions of these guys. Does everyone just want to give us a quick rundown of what you do?
Yeah, should I start? I'm Mod Pips, or Phil. I'm RuneScape's executive producer. So that means I'm overall head of product.
My name's Mod Tom. I'm the commercial designer, so I'm kind of responsible for all the Solomon Store and Squeal of Fortune stuff. So I gave you the golden chomper, I took it away, then I gave it back. So I'm kind of responsible for that whole emotional roller coaster.
I'm Mod Jack Mob. I'm a game engine developer. I also worked a lot on the bot strategy, dealing with that issue in real-world trading, and especially the tech surrounding it. So that's mostly what I do.
Mod MMG. I'm trying to remember what I do. I hit a blank every time. Basically, these guys do all the hard work, and I sometimes get credit for it unfairly. I'm CEO of Jagex, and I just help get stuff done.
Cool. Thanks, boss. Or boss. So, next. So, the kind of things we're going to talk about, the kind of things we got some questions on, the kind of things we're interested in your questions on. Bonds, recent big thing, obviously. Solomon's General Store and the Squeal of Fortune are important bits of the game that we know opinion is mixed about. We can talk a little about bots. I'm sure that's a topic on everyone's mind. Real-world trading as well. And some things related to that. If they come up, we can talk around those things a little. So, without further ado, let's get on to some questions. First one I've got a question from the forum, from a user called Marbian. Will Squeal of Fortune ever be improved? It would be cool if Yelps were in-game, with an actual wheel to spin and some lore. What do you reckon, Tom?
Yes, well the answer is yes. We've got a bunch of ideas at the moment that we're looking into to make the Squeal of Fortune look better, feel better, play better, looking at the whole of the prize list. So quite a lot of exciting stuff happening there. I don't feel like we have any strong desire to tie it in closely with the lore at the moment, but if we did bring Yelps into the game, it would be to kill him.
Gets talked about a lot. When should we kill Yelps?
Actually, it's not a spoiler, but Yelps will die.
If the players decide.
If they decide.
Who knows?
Yelps can die.
He can die. He's not immortal, as far as I know.
He's not immortal.
As far as I know.
If Yelps can die, if players decide, I think we can probably guess that Yelps
will die.
Will die. So, question from Completion. With the release of bonds, what percentage of gold farming bots have stopped? Phil, Pips, sorry.
So it's about 80%. Obviously, that fluctuates day by day, but that's been the average for the last month. We were really happy with that. Obviously, it was the reason we put it in. I thought it would build over time, erode real-world trading and bot gold farming over time. But it was very quick that we had that, and it's been holding well. It's been holding well too. So, yeah.
And it's also not just about the bots on that front. It's also about the other means they have to provide these gold streams coming into the game. We've basically made it far harder for them to actually inject that sort of gold via all the other methods they do have available other than bots. So on the bot side, we can also do a lot with our systems. So actually, a large part of what was really successful with bonds wasn't just the amazing impact it had with the 80% reduction. It's also the next step being sort of eradicated for the gold farmers, which no one's now even going to see. So that's been very successful on that front too.
Okay. And the other thing, just to add on that, is as we were saying, this is just part or the start of the campaign, and there's a number of initiatives. James has alluded to some of them there that we're working on in the background, that really dealing with this now, properly for the first time. The results are pretty obvious.
Cool. Did you want to say anything about any of the other problems of gold farmers that this affects? I mean, you mentioned the other things that they do beside the amount of gold.
Well, of course, so there are obviously many ways in which gold farmers get this gold into the game. They hijack accounts.
Yep.
Although they use bots to farm, they also have people paid to farm gold across many screens. So we found obviously bots for them scales very well because they can just turn on loads of bots. However, we've got some very sophisticated technology surrounding bots now, which has been very successful. So we're not so concerned on that front. Largely, we really want to make sure that they can't simply get loads of guys to use all their available resources to do it manually. The hijacking is also prolific via phishing, and also where the problem was cycling around on itself, where actually so many players were buying gold, most of the time, well, I wouldn't say most of the time, but a large proportion of the time, they were actually getting hijacked a few months later when they'd bought gold off these gold farming sites and given away too many of their details, either actually their passwords, which did happen in some cases, but also just their too much personal information with their billing details and all this stuff that the gold farmers would then take. So there's a whole remit of issues there, which Bonds has done a very, very good job at largely fixing entirely.
That's awesome. Okay, slightly lighter question, maybe question for Tom. Jad Pitt of the forums wants to know, do you intend to consider player feedback for Solomon's General Store, such as suggestions on the Solomon's General Store forums?
First, great name. Jack Pitt's good, I like that.
Yeah.
Secondly, absolutely, yeah. We already do consider the feedback quite a lot. I'm in the forums every day. I don't post very much, but I'm reading a lot. I'm always looking at those threads. So to give a couple of examples, right now I believe there's a poll on the main page. You can look at it right now, I think. And that gives you the chance to contribute to helping us sort of create some really cool Christmas outfits, for example. So it's kind of down to you. What do you want to see? We can help make that happen. Another example is that we've got a couple of pets planned right now, and they are basically plucked as an idea directly from the forum. Someone really wanted a certain kind of pet. We thought, it's a great idea. It sounds really cool. We can do that. So we're doing it. So it does happen. It's going to continue happening. I'm personally very grateful for all the feedback and the sort of constructive criticism and all the ideas and suggestions. There's tons of great stuff in the forum. So keep it coming.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, it's not Solomon specific or anything else, but I think it's fair to say almost all of us continue to read the forums. I certainly do daily, seldom post, but take a ton of takeaways from that, good and bad. I think we use it as it's a great barometer for where sentiment's at, but also where some of the best ideas are.
Yeah, I've just been asked on the floor whether we're really reading the forums, and we are. We all are. Some bits are asking the right place, obviously, but we look at them. It's good stuff. So, Gecko Robot 59 of the forums. Gotta love numbers with names in. Names with numbers in. Gotta love something. The price of bonds doesn't seem to be rising as hoped. Do they still compare well to gold farming prices? Pips, what do you reckon?
So they were never intended to, and they don't need to. I can understand why people might think that. I mean, that's a fair enough assumption, but we're not looking to directly compete with gold farmers. That's not our business. It's not what we want to do. It's not what the game needs. It's about not undercutting them, but undermining them, undermining the reason people might buy gold, really clawing away at the business model, I suppose, that drives gold farmers and allows them to continue. The fact that we've had such great success in reducing the amount of real-world trading and the amount of gold coming into the game via these types of players, I think is a testament to the fact that bonds don't have to compete on price. And really, the point about making bonds kind of putting them into the free market and allowing players to decide the prices is that reaches an equilibrium that the player base are happy with in general. As I said, as we see with the good impact it's had, it's working.
Yeah, and just a point about the question, it seems to suggest that if the price of a bond goes up in game, that it undermines the gold farmers more, but it's actually the opposite. When the price of bonds goes in game to a larger GP value, what that means is actually GP is worth more. It's undercutting the gold farmers less, but as Phil said, it's not really an issue because what we look at, obviously we're concerned about the problem of reward trading gold farming, and that's our sort of barometer. And what's important is that if you do an analysis all round of how all the money is flowing in the economy, you can consider real terms values with these things, and to make sure the GP is not provided at the sort of level which gold farmers would be able to take advantage of. So it's not as simple as a very basic competition between price on the gold farmer side and price on our side. There's more to it than that, to do with the fact that it's not the same product at all. It's actually players selling gold, not us, and it's also a very different mechanism by which that's distributed. So I wouldn't say that the price needs to be lower in terms of conversion if you're trying to look at simply a purchase. It doesn't need to go that far. And we can already undermine them with the whole ecosystem that the bonds has introduced.
Because as you've already mentioned, there's a big security aspect.
Of course, yeah.
And the bonds, they're an in-game thing. They're secure. That's a good way of doing it. It's a safe way of doing it. Other ways of getting gold just don't compete on that front at all, ever. So, another question from the same post, still Gecko Robot 59. More shouts for that name. Also, MMG perhaps. Also, why not just sue gold farmers?
So, when we look at this problem, we look at pretty much every aspect and how we're going to deal with it. And where we can sue, we do. Where we can undermine their business, we will. Where we can, as we've been doing, not even pre-bonds, making the cost of their operation significantly higher by dealing with the bot problem itself, we do. And the fundamental problem with most of the 99.9% of the gold farming itself is that it's kind of based out of China or Korea, and certainly for things within a Chinese jurisdiction, effectively, legally, we almost have zero recourse. There's some token things you can do, but it's almost like a lip service that the legal system pays there. It's we don't have a Chinese nexus. It's really hard to get taken seriously by any courts or anything else. So, and for them, it's a very good source of foreign exchange. So, for them, it's not a problem they need to solve. Obviously, it's a problem we need to solve. And bonds has kind of given us that real killer blow. But yeah, if these guys were in the UK or North America, we probably would have started with that first. But they're not, and that's what makes this particularly hard. And that's why we had to come back with pretty innovative ways of dealing with it at the core.
With a real multi-pronged approach.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, it's an ongoing thing, and now that we've undermined their business more, these things add up, and you can always consider more legal options, which become even easier when their business is less viable. So obviously that's not something that's just going to disappear. Obviously we always look at that.
Okay. Moving away from bots for a moment. Mind on the forums. Are microtransactions absolutely essential to the survival of the game? Would there be a visible change in update quality or update quantity if we removed General Store and Squeal of Fortune? MMG, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess the short answer is yes. Look, the reality is, and I think there's some misconception as to the actual quantum that is generated from Solomons or Squeals. It's significantly less than what membership brings, but that extra, and I don't know the number offhand, 20, 30% that it contributes is necessary. We as you'll know firsthand, we employ great people, and we invest very heavily in content, technology, and various other things to continue to evolve our game. And the hard reality is that costs money. There's no other way to do it. If membership were to double, or if bonds took front stage and compensated, then you could kind of look at these things. But right now, I think it's essential in the commercial mix. We're not looking to. I don't think we need to do more of it per se. I think we've got a very good spread, looking at what we've got now. But yeah, it is meaningful enough that you can't ignore it, and it's essential to allow us to do within the RuneScape team what we need to do, not just for where we are now, but for the next 5 to 10 years. with 2020 hindsight, is there better ways we could have done it? And you know, I wrestle with these all day long and years after the fact, right? As you should. But I don't think where we are today and stuff, yeah, we could do without it. But look, I mean, you know, we're always assessing these things, and as I alluded to earlier, and Phil and I had some conversations about this even, going, well, actually, you know, if bonds, for example, becomes the de facto currency in effect, and it's really redemptive and well received by players, maybe it could replace it. But the reality is it hasn't, and bonds is just part of that mix. And bonds is really there to solve a problem rather than solve a gold farming problem rather than solve a monetization problem. But yeah, you know, we're always reflecting on these things, and you know, we'll keep assessing it. If there was an opportunity, you know, if we could be really purist about this and say, you know, with just this way of making payment, we could do without these. You know, if ever there was such an elegant solution, we'd probably do it. The reality is we've never found such an elegant solution. But yeah, we continue to explore.
Okay. Everyone happy with that? Well,
sorry,
I mean,
probably a lot longer
aside,
answer than I needed to.
It worries me when they're having conversations. But no, but more pips. The things we've mentioned, the microtransactions, they're not separate from everything else in the game in the way that they might have been originally. Now that we have bonds, what difference has that made to them?
Well, indeed. I mean, we've been trying to make, we kind of see the Solomons and Squeal as optional services. You can take part, you don't have to. It's really up to players. I think that's even more the case now because they're a lot more open. Bonds allow you to use your in-game cash to get a bond and then to trade it for rune coins or spins. And then emerging loyalty into Solomons means you know, the majority of stuff in Solomon's store you can get with loyalty points as well. So we kind of want to open up access, and I think bonds, in a kind of really simple way, has really blown open the access to otherwise paid services.
Yeah, it's been a tremendous catalyst. I mean, there's, I think most people also just look at Squeal with not most, but a lot of people look at Squeal negatively and see it as a cynical monetization initiative. But you know, one thing we found, and actually haven't found a replacement for, player and ports gets close, is, you know, it drives incredible daily activities. And the reality is people log in every day to get their free spin, and that's wonderful, you know. And the more regularly they're interacting with the game, the more they're likely to talk to their friends and other things like that too. So, you know, there is a certain halo around it, which is also pretty positive.
It does work as a reward mechanism. You complete a challenge. Obviously, I think quests have their own rewards, but there are some things in the game that we attach Squeal tickets to, for instance, and that we do see that it results in more people taking part. And the more varied stuff people do, the more they play the game, the more they enjoy it. So, you know, it has a sort of secondary and tertiary benefits like that too.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it doesn't necessarily, it's not everyone's cup of tea all the time, but spinning the wheel is quite good fun.
I enjoy it.
If I do say so myself. Okay, so Spring God of the forums would like to know, recent bot nukes have reduced the number of bots dramatically. Do you expect the bots will be back in large numbers in future? Jack Mob, you interested in that one?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even call them bot nukes, what we've done recently. We've spent months now rolling out new tech, which is really based around finding a long-term solution to make these things intractable to create. And we've spent a long time, in fact, since mid-January, we've been able to see everyone who's botting. And we've spent a long time making sure that we try things in waves, that we have the right logistics sorted out, so we have the right guys who are going to be there long term to make sure that the system is correctly adapting to the new attempts of creating bots. We use majority of our stuff is based around behavioral detection. We found that that's been astonishingly accurate. I mean, so much so that almost all of it is basically turned off because the bots are nowhere near sophisticated enough to even need it at the moment. And if we turned it all on, we can actually detect differences between different people, let alone bots and people. So
playing on the same account.
even on the same
mean, on
accounts.
the same computer.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, we can track one guy. In most cases, we can track one guy switching computers, not just even on the same computer. Different accounts as well. So we have a lot of behavioral stuff we can do, very sophisticated in our more technical stuff with our machine learning algorithms. But that's not even formed the majority of the work we've had to put in. That's a win that we've been able to produce. But actually, we've spent a long time over the last few months making sure that we have the right user interfaces and guys working on this long term internally, so that when something anomalous happens and a guy needs to flick a switch and all these sorts of things to deal with a big influx of gold farmers or some new attempt at something which we'll always be able to pick up, that everything's reviewed carefully and that people can feel confident that bans are reviewed. Obviously, almost all macroing bans come in with an appeal saying they didn't bot. So we absolutely have to be completely sure that we're not applying just basic heuristics and then saying that's good enough. We obviously check everything multiple times now. In fact, we found that we've never had a mistake come out of our sophisticated bot detection systems, but we've had a few issues related to our much more basic systems where you can simply check for a certain set of things and just ban all the people in real time doing that. So we've actually, and that's actually a general problem with all so-called safety critical systems that built. There is a big engineering problem. It's well understood. User interfaces are important for these sorts of things. So actually, we've done a lot of organization internally. So this process is nothing like a bot nuke at all. It's a long-term solution, and it's been fantastic over the last 3 months that we've reduced over 99% of botting, and that's a permanent thing. So no, they're not going to come back. I mean, there's always leeway because botting is not well defined, right? You can say an autoclick is a bot, you can say this is a bot, you can, or this is cheating. So obviously new things crop up, but the idea that there's going to be some massive bot website in a few years' time because the bot nuke was ages ago is not going to be the case anymore. We're very confident about that. You can always see small things cropping up, but nothing of what we saw, a couple of years ago.
Because that phrase, bot nuke, we used that for a particular event.
Indeed, in 2011,
a couple of years
yes.
ago. And it sort of suggests a big explosion followed by everybody being terrified of you. And that wasn't it. The strategy is this ongoing, continuing to...
At that time, there was a bot nuke. That was a quick tech thing. Well, it was actually a major tech thing, which was very useful for our obfuscation and code deployment processes. It's actually been very useful internally on other projects and internally refactoring code. I think it's been a very useful technology. We've actually applied it in other areas. But the bot side of that was only a temporary thing, and that was obvious from the beginning. It was, in fact, the time when this bot watch stuff was first being worked on inside Jagex. It was sort of redone with a different strategy starting at the beginning of 2013, but a lot of the tech was actually done in 2012. Starting towards that behavioral stuff. So yes, that bot nuke was always known to be a temporary thing. It had a big impact. It did work for a few months because the guys were quite slow about it. But I think the main point of that was to send the message. Of course, people were very skeptical about whether we wanted to deal with bots, right? And I think 2011 basically showed that we were willing to do that, and we've obviously shown it now. And so it was an important step. But that's what it was. It was a step to this longer term solution.
Cool, thank you. How are we doing for ideas? Is there any questions, rather? Has anyone got theirs ready? I'm going to do a couple more from the bit of paper, and then we'll come to some live questions. So here's a quick one, quick to ask. Red Baron with a spare R says, how many bonds have been traded so far? Are there any numbers?
I've got
you
some
might like to
stats.
give us?
I love my stats, so I've brought some along. So I'm going to run through them. Okay, so we checked this, I think it was on Thursday or Friday. So here's the rundown. Over 15,000 bonds gifted to other players. Over 12,000 what we call long-term free-to-play players who are now members because they've got bonds. Over 3,000 years of membership, 8 million rune coins, 50 billion sunk GP in the trade tax. I think there's 100 of you here using bonds, which is fantastic. And now we've got the charity thing set up, over $10,000 just in, 4 days through bonds. And I think we're at probably $13,000-$14,000 through GP. That's not bonds bit, but yeah. So yeah, they're doing well. You know, they're never supposed to take over the game. They were another thing, another way for players to, you know, get access to services. So these are all lovely things. They're obviously secondary to the original intention, but it's really nice that we've got these positive side effects.
Okay. So, forum question from a player called Soma Cruth, perhaps. Will bonds ever be a reward for in-game activity, such as a mini-game reward or a monster drop?
No, that's quite a quick answer, no, definitely not. We see bonds as a financial instrument. They need, though their GP value can vary based on what the players want, their real life value and obviously the things you can redeem it for need to remain fixed and absolute. So we will never discount the sale of them. We will never give them away in, you know, kind of random drops or anything like that in the game.
Okay. Questions from Dulcimer Lady. Tom, will there be more items available for loyalty points in future?
Yes. I was going for the shortest possible answer of the session,
If-
but I can elaborate. So
well-
yes, it's an ongoing process. As we progress and we come up with new ideas and new things we can put in the store, we'll absolutely, definitely be putting more items for loyalty points into Solomon's store, possibly some new auras. As we've already mentioned a couple of times, the whole bonds thing is a great, sort of another great way if you want to sort of get something from the store but you don't want to pay raw money, get some bonds, use your gold, get some bonds, convert them, get rune coins, and you can bypass that system that way as well.
Yeah, actually, Sony, just on that last point, so many people here today have already said that to me, going, there's all these things I wanted in Solomon's, but I didn't have the cash, and I just, you know, used bonds to get them. It's very cool.
Yeah, we've got, I know, sorry, I'm going back on my stats again. I like my stats. On those points, I think it's worth mentioning about 50 to 55% of bonds redemption is membership. So then probably another, oh no, I'm going to get my math wrong, like 35% is rune coins. So it's only a minority of people, really quite a small chunk that redeem bonds for spins. So I quite like that ratio.
Okay. Couple quick questions more. Well, I don't know how quick. So, Dinstruction on the forum wants to know, since free-to-play is becoming quite popular among online games, do you think that RuneScape will move toward a business model focusing primarily on microtransactions rather than subscriptions?
Shall I
If
grab the beginning of that?
wants to start that.
No, so we see the current model as the game is free to play. There is an absolute ton of extra stuff and benefits if you become a member, and there's kind of a icing on the cake being some optional MTX services. We're comfortable with it like that. Players have had it like that for, well, the game's been built around membership. Players have always understood that. They're comfortable with it. We're going to keep it like that indefinitely.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly to me, and now with bonds, it is free to play, right? If you play enough, it becomes free.
Yep.
And I think now for the first time, players actually have those two paths they can choose. It's truly, yeah, I'll pay my £5 for membership, or I'll, you know, trade some of my items and I'll use a bond to fund my membership. And I mean, a significant amount, as you said, I think it's more than 30 or 40% of the bond redemptions now goes to membership, which is tremendous. So I think, in a way, bonds has become that free-to-play mechanism. Again, not by design, but it's wonderful that it enables that. Okay,
Thank you. Last paper question, and then we'll go to the audience. So, a player on the forum called Ron Weasley. I don't know if it's the same Ron Weasley. I don't remember the books or the films having a 0 in there like that. But anyway, have you considered... I was wondering whether we were going to get some feedback.
Can Ron please raise his hand?
Have you considered adding RuneScape Classic access with bonds, or perhaps reopening it for members?
We talk about it. We want to make sure we do it for the right reasons. I think, so what I wouldn't like is if we open up access to Classic for everyone, people go in for 5 minutes, they realise it's not for them, maybe they've got their Classic cape, and for the few people that are long-term Classic players, they're going to get a really disruptive game, and actually what's happened is we've just got this kind of cycle of normal players coming through and then leaving again. I I mean, that's not the end of the world. I'd be really interested to see what everyone thinks. Is it something they think would be valuable to them? We could consider it more. So we're not like absolutely settled, but we've got our doubts.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
I just want to echo those doubts. I think classic says what it is, right? And I think keeping it or paying homage to kind of as original as it was, I think is a key part of its charm. I don't just think it's nostalgia. I think it's a certain retro feel and a dependability of it's just like this, and it's not. And I don't mean to disrespect it, but it's not particularly innovative like we are in the main game. It's not evolving at the pace the main game does. And for some, that's the comfort, right? And I think we would think quite long and hard before anything like bonds, because it really rails directly against that. It doesn't mean it's a bad idea, but I think that almost need to be player-driven. I think that would be something we'd put to a poll if ever even got that far. But we still kind of wrestle over, but is it classic? But is it classic? And it's not. Currently, it's clearly not classic. So that's the first hurdle we've got to get over before we'd even open up to the community.
Because Classic's community, they aren't as large as the main game or Oldscape, but they are a real community. There's a bunch of them there, and they like the way it is.
Oh, we're talking about classic. Bloody hell. Sorry, I've been talking about old school. Apologies.
It's
No, we mean classic, yeah.
Classic, bloody hell. Yeah, so no, definitely not. I think that's... I mean, I don't even think we can update that.
No, on the tech side, there are also issues with it. We can do it. It's just it would be something we'd have to, put aside time for in technology.
Extraordinary amount of tech effort.
So, it's not a switch at least to open it up. I mean, it really has been sitting there aging. Classic was a very reliable service. It stayed on for many years, but it hasn't been updated for a long time. It would have to, obviously. Also consider that it will take some time out of development to make sure we're happy with it. In fact, we've locked off communication from Classic to main game, didn't we, because of issues. The communication between our modules are actually quite complicated. We have a considerable amount of traffic going between all our servers. We'd have to be careful about it. So it's not also as easy as it sounds. To
I mean, as you guys know, I like to say tech's not like good red wine. It doesn't get better with age. And that tech's really, really old.
Okay, thanks for that. That's a good selection of our prepared questions. So, I don't know if we've... Yep. Oh, we're going to...
Presenting the mic.
Microphone out there. There's lots of questions. The people I noticed with questions the last time I asked, before everyone else had more chance to get them, were in this corner. So perhaps, gentlemen in the front row.
We'll try and be quite quick fire, because it looks like there's quite
There
a lot of people.
are a lot of questions.
We'll try and be
We'll try and
quick.
keep them quick.
Oh, okay. Would you ever create a different world with different currency instead of having gold pieces? Just for example,
Gems.
maybe have
I'm joking.
like you've done with bonds. You can trade that in for membership. Have you ever thought about creating a world where you can have different currency?
I don't think so. I'm not sure
So you mean just
what the
another
underlying
Instead-
point would be.
Instead of gold pieces, you can have
Tertiary currency of some sort.
different. I don't know, silver pieces and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
And have an exchange rate between the...
Would they
Yeah,
work
yeah.
like
silver.
gold pieces?
Pardon?
Would they work like gold pieces?
Yeah, exactly the same, but it's just different.
Different colour.
Yeah, no, different.
Are you
colour.
sure? Are you asking for so that it's a clean ecosystem, so that
Yeah.
so that you can basically play through the content without the disruption of
Yeah.
the economy that's obviously something that the players control. I know a lot of players do. I've seen this MaxCape from Scratch series where basically it's DIY, and other people have done DIY series. So if you're looking at it from that point of view, it's not something we've thought about as far as I'm aware.
We have talked about kind of potentially doing a blank slate restart server, a little bit like with
Yeah.
old school, but with the main game. Maybe doing it on our beta servers for a test. We've got a few ideas like that. I think we'll talk about some of them a bit later in the day in the other sessions. Not really is the answer, not as a high priority thing. But again, we really want these ideas coming out of the community. If something like that gets ahead of steam, it's not crazy hard for us to try it out, but it would probably be as a more experimental service, certainly to start with.
Okay. Perhaps if you'd just like to go wherever is best for you next.
Hi, yeah. I had a question about Solomon's General Store. just before, you know, the loyalty points were able to be used to buy some certain stuff. I know that all stuff can't be bought with loyalty points, but I spent a lot of money on rune coins before the loyalty points were able to be, you know, used for Solomon's General Store. And I was just wondering, like, you know, did you get any, you know, like heat from fans, or what was your opinion on us lot spending money on real, you know, rune coins with real money before, you know, and then all of a sudden the loyalty points stuff just comes like bang, and that's it. Like, what's your opinion?
Okay, so the question is, how did we get any heat? How did we feel about people buying things for one currency just before we made them available for a different one?
You guys know, I think it's much hated by the marketing team. I have this shirt called Worst Update Ever that I wear around the office most days. Because no matter what we do, there'll be a certain percentage of the community, you know, hopefully, and usually if we do it well, it's a small percentage, who rage about that. As far as that goes, the sentiment around the time was actually very positive, and I think most people were like, excellent, you're rewarding me for my longevity. I've been a part of this community for a long time. I've been a member for a long time, you know, and thank you for that. And I think a lot of people also saw through that and gone, actually, basically, by Jagex providing us the system, it makes no money, right? And so they saw that as a benevolent thing for us to do. And I think that kind of created a really positive sentiment. But, you know, and I fully recognize your point. You're going, but I paid, and now it's free. But by and large, the sentiment was overwhelmingly positive, or it was very positively received.
It's quite tough for us because, you know, if you add more access, if you kind of be a bit more generous with things, obviously people like the change, but people who spent beforehand feel a little bit disenfranchised. So, you know, we don't like that happening. But on the other hand, we also don't want to not open up access. You know, I don't want to make too much of this, but generally, if people are really worried about those things, if they do feel pissed off about it, generally when people get in touch with us, we try and sort them out. So we try and be fair about it as well.
Well, just so quickly, I know that you know, loyalty points can only be spent on certain stuff, so I know you're giving some leeway to people like me who bought rune coins, obviously. But yeah, supposing I'd spent a lot of my rune coins on the stuff that could only be bought with loyalty points, you know, then what? You know,
I mean, we're not looking to do like a major shift where suddenly everything is available with loyalty points. You know, we're going to look at it over time on a case-by-case basis. You know, hopefully that won't happen. But if it does, you know, you can email us through billing support, and you know, we'll talk to you about it and try and make it good.
Okay, I probably should ask questioners and maybe the panel that if we can get them a bit more quickfire, we can
Sorry,
fit
we're
some more
enjoying
in.
it. That's
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good stuff, and I hope that everyone's interested in the answers.
You've talked a lot about the positives of bonds, like outside of the real world trading front. But if real world trading wasn't such a prolific problem, do you think bonds would still be an overall positive, and would you have introduced them to the game?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure. It was definitely, you know, the catalyst was where we got with the issues with botting and gold farming and real world trading, and that was okay, like we've really got to do something else about this. We need another, what's the phrase, string to our bow to try and sort it out. From where we are now, there's loads of other positives about it. So, yeah, I don't know actually. I'll be honest. I'm not sure.
Yeah, for me, exactly what you said. That was never the intent, and you know, dealing with the gold farming issue was really the catalyst that drove this. For me, seeing the holistic benefits of it, I would say now, like a lot of us, we didn't envisage a lot. You know, we didn't see also how able to predict how positive it would be well received. It was just more, we have to do this because it's the right thing to do, and surely people understand everything we do is for long term in the game. But seeing how well it was received, seeing how it's allowed people who, you know, don't necessarily have the financial means to experience content, you know, clans to be reunited, and all of these other things. The fact that actually now we have a game that is truly free to play, to the earlier point, I would say yes, we would. But it was only as a result of this learning. I don't think in a vacuum, without these issues, we would have been brave enough, in fairness, to say we're going to do this. Because we could not have known about all the other positive side effects. But now that we do, I think about other games as a way. This is kind of a template for the future. I think giving players this ability to choose how they pay, and rewarding play, I think is phenomenal. If you can reward play without, an environment where people are cheating bots and things like that, so it's genuinely you playing, and you've invested that time. I'd love to reward the time you spend in this game, and that to mean something to you.
Yeah, but a large reason we did the bonds thing now is obviously because over the last few months we have built up the infrastructure we need in order to be able to analyze and know a lot about the game's economy. And it almost came out of the surprises we had in that analysis. And that was, of course, related to what you said, the real-world trading issues. So I suppose it's probably unlikely that we would have done bonds now if it hadn't been for real-world trading. But it is obviously a positive in many ways. I haven't weighed it up, but it wouldn't be a bad update anyway.
Yeah,
some of these things.
Next.
Yeah, some of these things. Can we have the microphone for the gentleman in the crazy hat? And I'll speak while you move. Thank you. But we describe some of these things as surprising, but really from the earliest discussions of bonds, I've been really excited about this thing of opening the game up to people who do want to earn their subscription in game. I think that's great.
Yep.
So, thank you. You have a question and a microphone?
Yes, that's right. I'm Mental Viral, video maker. Anyway, this is a bit more of a serious question. And I'll try to make it as simple as possible.
Is it on topic?
Yes. Pretty much, one of the things I've often noticed, and most of my friends even asked me, is often, where do you draw the line between a business and a game? Because sometimes, even my friends feel like there is no line anymore.
That is indeed a very serious question.
That's a serious question.
I know it's a tough question.
I will try to give it a serious answer, or rather a thoughtful answer. The reality is, so all of us, I think, would describe ourselves independently or anywhere else from outside of this as gamers ourselves. As in, we like to make games, we like to play games, we're gamers through and through. For me, in my position, I also happen to have to run the business, and I have to, as I say, hire great people and build good technology and solve real problems, and try my best to service a community and run a game service. So that there is a certain, I don't want to say tension, because it's not, I don't think the two need to be mutually exclusive, but sure, there's a great question of where we draw the line, and I think, I'd hope people would see when we do updates, the reasoning behind. We talked earlier on about loyalty points for rune coins, that most of what we do is actually try to say, look, what's the fairest way of doing this? What's the way we can still achieve a good outcome and be really magnanimous to the community, rather than cynically going, oh, it's going to make a lot of money, and let's tax this and tax that and tax that. So there's an element of, we can only make RuneScape, we can only continue to invest in RuneScape if we're successful and profitable as a business, and you can't shy away from that fact, because otherwise we'd have to, stop, simply put. So we can't do it as a charity, but at the same time, we always try and put the game first. And I think anyone who knows us would know that about us. That's how we rationalize our way through challenges and new opportunities. We can go, is this good for players? Is this good for choice? Does this provide different entertainment or variety or opportunity? And that's really how we look at it. There's not a single truly single cynical MBA on our payroll who's like, look at Spiritual, we're going to make so much money with this. Like, it doesn't. That's not how we work. The ideas we have, the systems, the way things are balanced, it's done in this team, and it's not done it's not me. It's not done in the business. So I don't think there's a tension, or we haven't found it to be a tension. I can see how it might be perceived as how much is game, how much is business. But the reality is, if we're successful as a company, as a product, we'll be around for another 20 years. We'll continue to grow, we'll continue to invest, and make great content, hire great people, have great parties with you guys. So it's important.
We might not always get the balance perfectly right, but we do strive to. There's been different periods, especially, I think, certainly through the summer before last, in 2012, we were trying different things. We probably overstepped the mark a bit too much on things like Squid of Fortune. We tried to rebalance it. We need to find the right equilibrium. I know you might not always think it. We really do listen and read what everyone tells us and writes, and we'll keep trying to adjust that over time.
Yeah, and even just sorry, I know we're trying to cut things short, but just to echo what you were saying again, everything is done with the best intent, and even where we perhaps might have been, through no fault of our own, except we haven't done this before, slightly ham-fisted with things like Squeal, or perhaps not as elegant as we are today, it was simply from not having the experience of what awesome looks like as a team. As in, we were building it from scratch, in a way. We were learning from scratch, but we responded very quickly as we saw challenges. And most important point is what Phil makes, which is we always do everything with the best intentions. We don't always get it right, but we do our damnedest to get it right, and we work as quick as we can to remedy it if we haven't got it right.
And thankfully, typically, it's obviously the business is to make a good game.
Yeah.
So
It's the best way of making the money.
And one last part to that question.
Very quickly, please.
Do you ever plan on going ahead and, well, not necessarily stop Solomon Store's Wheel of Fortune, but maybe like take a small hiatus for maybe like a few weeks and focus more on the quest content and stuff like that?
So a really, really important point to make is when we do stuff on Squeal or Solomon's, it is not detracting, it is not taking effort or resource away from the other stuff. We have a small team that Tom is part of who are dedicated to doing some of that kind of optional stuff, but that has never curtailed or cut away at the other stuff. It was an additional group who work independently, so the two are not in conflict in terms of our the efforts that the team make.
I mean, even as a very practical example, I mean, Tom, it's you and 4 or 5 other people?
We've grown a little recently, but yeah, it's always been quite a small team.
10? What's the number?
I tend to keep my head down, stick to the
It's surprising, but like, I don't know what.
they are dotted around.
15.
The thing-
It's 13 people out of 180.
Okay, so I was about to say, so it's 13 people who work on monetization.
Did everyone catch the second number? 100 and...
We have 179 people direct RuneScape stuff.
Yep.
And there's like another 100 who do other services.
Well,
on RuneScape.
we didn't mention the exact number because none of us had it to hand, but we did mention that those things are not a majority, but a pretty decent proportion of the income, and they let us do much more than those people we have to use to keep running them. So those people are a smaller proportion of the team than their work pays for, essentially. So it's
a single-digit percentage, however you look at it, as the overall team size. So very small.
okay. Thank you for that.
Very much. Stay classy.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone else. Thank you to the panel. Shout to Maud Necron for helping me pick the questions. And have a good rest of the day. We will be around. Many of us are doing other things. We're wondering if you can catch some of us and you had more questions, then try and ask them then. Thank you very much, everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed all that and learnt lots. Whilst that was happening, I've been given a t-shirt.
And I went to the stall for RuneHQ and I got my Night Squishy toy that we were talking about before.
I didn't get one.
And I got my wristband from RuneHQ, so that's pretty cool.
That's not so cool, but can I squeeze it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's really hard. It's really...
I thought it was more supposed to be like a
It's
stress
re-
toy.
Yeah, it's...
Like a squeezy
It's
thing.
really hard.
It's hard.
It's
It's
not...
like foam more.
Oh, you know how like a stress toy is usually you can sort of give it a squeeze
And it pops
it'll
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really solid. It's more like a model.
Yeah, it's more like a...
This would stress me out.
This is
Yeah,
a
it's just
stress,
causing me
This
problems.
is a stress out toy, not a
Yeah,
stress toy.
I can't cope with it. We've also got loads of other stuff. Look, we made our table nice.
Yep, t-shirts and concept art that's
Yeah.
for sale at runefest.com.
And also,
here.
I've got a shot of lager in a RuneFest 3 shot glass. I don't really... Kind of strange, but there you go, got that. Lee, how's your day going?
Pretty good. I just saw the other Inside session, the second one, and I just came back from pretty much my lunch break, so I'm finally back on the stream, and I just got to see a bunch of people and meet a lot of fans and people who support RuneScape.
How was your lunch?
Good. It was okay. I had this, I don't really know what it was being an American. I had this weird sandwich thing. I don't know what it was.
A baguette.
Yeah, it was a baguette.
Yeah, nice. So what have been the highlights for you so far?
So far, I just saw actually Ollie's insider session, and it was really interesting learning more about the lore and just getting into more of the behind-the-scenes game of stuff like that, like stuff that goes into it that people might really not catch on to, like extra things in quests and extra stuff that we don't know about. So it's really cool to just find out more about that kind of thing.
That was really seamless. Do you know, it's like how Lee said, about Ollie's, when you're thinking, who's Ollie? This is Ollie. Woo! Go Ollie. Ollie joins us in the studio. Ollie, who the hell are you?
I'm Mod Ollie. I just released a quest called Missing Presumed Death, and I've just done that insider talk, as you said. I'm a content developer at Jagex. Yeah, that's all there is to say, I guess.
Missing Presumed Death was incredibly popular.
Went down pretty well.
Yeah, what did that mean to you?
It was my first release at Jagex, so it meant a lot to me. Like, sort of my Twitter and the forum sort of blew up with people being really excited about it, so it's just like, it was awesome to see.
Did you anticipate that kind of reaction?
Not at all, really. Like, I knew it's like a big quest, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of sort of exciting lore and there's a big twist, but I didn't expect anywhere near the reaction that it got, so that was absolutely awesome.
Do you like it, Lee?
I thought it was great. I personally loved it. I chose Zaros at the end. I'm a Zaros supporter. I like how I saw the smoke there. I think Brassica Prime was more of a distraction to the Zaros being present at the thing with the smoke. So
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. There was a lot of tips and tricks, and the voiceover was fantastic for it too.
Yeah.
Whoever did all of that was spot on.
That was great.
Excellent. Right, Ollie, are you having a nice day?
I'm having a great day. It started kind of ropey, in that I missed the coach.
So did I.
Did you? Well, the coach was at 6:30, and I woke up at 6:31, and was like, oh my god.
Where have you come from?
I've come from Cambridge, so it's not like miles, but I was supposed to get
Far
the coach,
enough.
and yeah, my alarm was set to weekdays only. Obviously, it's a Saturday.
Our
so-
coach, our backup coach was at
Classic.
8. Yeah, our backup coach was at 8, and I got there at 8:02.
There was a
Gone.
backup coach.
Yeah, it was at 8.
Oh, did we here last night, or?
Yeah, I was here.
Yeah.
Well, I was at Namco, and then.
Fair enough. Yeah, because I was still in Cambridge, and I had to I had to shower like really fast, jump in my car, and like get down here really fast. So.
So what's the best thing you've seen so far today?
Seen quite a few like cool things. There's like an Ent, there's a couple of dragons, but the best thing I've seen is probably the old dude dressed as Saradomin. Like, he looks brilliant. And he's got a GoPro on his staff. He's wandering
Yeah,
around
I saw
with
him.
it.
I saw him earlier explaining
Yeah.
how the lights in the crown
his
works.
staff. Oh, his staff and crown are both
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
really
got
cool. Yeah.
Blinking
That's
blue
awesome.
lights.
Yeah.
Best outfit I've seen so far is Ollie. He's in shorts. Have you been outside?
I've worn jeans like twice this year.
Wow.
I just wear jeans like shorts
Turns
all year
out
round.
Ollie has got mental problems. Why are you?
I think my
are you
legs
not
just
cold?
don't work, like sort of knees down.
From sheer
just
down.
don't get cold.
Yeah, right. You're cold, I would imagine. I don't know how you're not.
I'm not cold.
Someone who definitely got cold was Matt Cuttle, who we'll be hearing from throughout the day. Earlier, he was learning how to ice sculpture, Lee.
It's pretty cool.
Ice sculpture.
I don't know how to do that.
Video.
Now I'm here with Amy and we're looking at ice sculptures, which is something that actually everyone can have a go at today at RuneFest. Now Amy, how long would it take to make something like this?
So this particular version, it probably took about an hour to get it all together. We cut the various different outlines of the sculpture by machine.
Oh, okay, so there's a bit of cheating here.
There is a
Some of it's
little.
done by machine. We've got one over here which has been this hasn't been pre-cut, has it, or has it? With the machine?
So this is what I was saying about the CNC machine.
Oh, that's easy. I've just got to remake that. Simple. I don't think I'm wearing quite the right clothes for the job, but we'll do. This is quite therapeutic, Amy, isn't it?
It is. It's really therapeutic.
Look at this.
You can really take it out.
Looking at the sweat. Oh. I've sort of wrecked it, I think. I don't think I'm going to get much further. So,
Do you want us to take over?
yeah, you take over, Amy, and we'll go back to the studio.
And there are plenty more activities going on, and Matt will be taking part in all of them, pretty much, and talking about them to us throughout the day, which is very exciting. Now, we are joined by Martin.
Hello.
Hello, Martin.
Hello.
Tell us all about yourself.
Me?
Yeah.
I have possibly one of the best jobs in the world. Art director for RuneScape. Working with a very, very talented team. And just churning out content. It's so much fun.
So as art director, what do you actually have to do?
Oh, very diverse. So I will give feedback to all the lead teams. So like animation, concept art, environment art. I work with kind of animation, say, and kind of effects and that kind of stuff. I work very closely, mainly with concept artists to kind of get that initial kind of concept off the ground and that kind of look kind of right. And then also kind of keep an eye on kind of consistency and also look into the future, you know, what we're going to do with RuneScape and how we're going to push that style as new kind of tech comes online.
So when you're working on something, how long until that becomes part of the game?
Well, it can be like, you know, we start off on a Monday and be released at the end of the week, or it can be like 6 months. You know, it really is varied. It's no 2 weeks are the same over Jagex, really aren't.
So you're working on anything at the minute you can tell us about?
Good question.
Spoilers?
Yeah.
Spoilers?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to hear
Yeah. Yeah. People here with spoilers.
No.
Well,
no, I mean, the World Event 2 is coming up. That's looking very, very nice, and there's some new tech involved in that. And you're seeing the kind of emergence of a new kind of style for RuneScape, which you should see kind of washing through the world fairly soon with kind of other quests that come out.
I actually have 2 questions.
Yeah.
First of all, what's your favorite thing that you've drawn or came up with, or concept art-wise? What was the best thing that you liked?
Nice question.
Good
Well
question.
done, Lee.
That's all good. I think possibly the range Slayer kit, the kind of the alien kind of blue kind of kit was pretty good. And Boss 2 was good fun. The massive, huge kind of cliff half monster was really, really good.
And also, what's the hardest part of doing this whole art directing thing? Like, what's the hard? Like, is there one part of the art design or concept art that you come up with? You're like, crap, what do we do here? Or like, is there anything that's hard at all?
I think the worst for me is when we have to kind of, you know, maybe cut content and there's not enough time to get it finished, and maybe it gets shelved for later on, you know, because sometimes these guys kind of work really, really hard and work late into night and get the stuff out, and then it just slips and it kind of, you know, gets delayed sort of 6 months or so. So I think that's the worst bit for me.
I liked your questions. Do you have any more?
They were great questions.
Yeah, better than mine.
Absolutely. Very professional.
I'm good for that. If I think of one,
I mean, mine was just, who are you? It wasn't a great question.
And I knew that already.
And why are you on my sofa?
I'm here for the beer, actually, quite frankly.
Hey, take it. Go on.
Is it good? I mean, do I keep the glasses?
Get it down you. Suddenly got crazy.
Uh-oh. Are we allowed to?
Incredible. I don't know if that's allowed.
Thank you very much.
Right.
That might not be
Everyone can
allowed.
watch Martin's session after 7 p.m. when we'll be playing content we couldn't show you live, and we will be streaming until 10 p.m. GMT. Yeah, because people in different countries are watching. Now, though, a little video to show them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, roll it.
And it's going to tell you what is coming up over the next hour. Enjoy. Excellent. Good hour coming up, I think. One of the best ones of all the hours. And there are a lot of them. Now we have another video to show you, which is a little teaser of what is coming up in the next Insider session, Ideas for the Future.
Ideas for the Future is looking at 2014 and beyond.
We're going to be showing you some of the ideas that we've been designing. We're going to be getting your feedback on them. Every update we make aims to improve the game, and Ideas for the Future is going to show you the stuff that we haven't put into the game yet, so that you can tell us how we're doing.
We get to chuck our really extravagant ideas straight at you, and we're going to be judging just on the audience reaction if it's a good or bad idea. That way, you know, we're not wasting our time and we can purely focus on the good stuff in RuneScape.
There are 2 things players can get out of this. The first is you'll get to see some of our ideas in their very early stages, and the second is you'll get to see what our ideas look like before they're really finished.
I'm really excited about the event. I've never actually been to this before, so it'd be quite nice to actually meet a lot of the players in person.
The previous 2 RuneFests were a brilliant opportunity to interact directly with the players who love the game. We talk a lot on forums and on Twitter, but there's something slightly different about getting to interact face to face.
The unique opportunity for this is that you get to speak to us straight after we've just done a presentation. So if you've got any concerns or if you really love the idea, please come and tell us and we'll be more than happy to listen.
Well, I can't talk much about what we're going to be saying, because if you want to know that, you'll have to watch the session yourself. But you may have heard rumours about the 200th quest. I'm going to be telling you a bit more about that, showing you a couple of pieces of concept art. I'm really looking forward to RuneFest, and I'm really looking forward to talking to the players one-on-one, but to be honest, I'm terrified of going up on stage. It's really not my natural environment, but it's worth it because we really need to get these ideas out.
We really want to expand on RuneScape as much as possible, and with your help, we really think we can do that.
So that is what is coming up very, very soon. We're going to go and watch it. What are you hoping to hear, Lee?
I'm hoping to hear some really good ideas for the future. I'm hoping to hear some new content reveals or anything like that, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Right, let's go and find out what happens. Guys, this is the Ideas for the Future session.